6 in the morning, I woke up to the terrible sound of a siren. We took our two young children and we ran to the bomb shelter. This is the 9/11 of Israel. This is the worst and most difficult time of Israel since the day this country was established. It was terrible to watch. So many hungry for blood terrorists over there, and this is why they keep the border shut. I would never be able to erase it from my memory.
What has happened so far is that casualties have happened on both the sides, but there are so many lives, so many names and faces that have been eventually rescued from the danger zone from the southern part of Israel, which borders Gaza. One of them is Reut Aisenburg, who joins us all the way from Tel Aviv. And as I spoke to Reut earlier about the safety aspect, Reut, please go ahead and tell us how you were rescued, where you are, and what are your fears and what are your hopes?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for inviting me and for raising awareness for everything that is happening in here. So before we began the interview, you asked me about is it safe where I am? And I told you that it depends what's your safety standards. So I live in Tel Aviv, you can see Tel Aviv here in the background. On Saturday morning, in 6 in the morning, I woke up to the terrible sound of a siren. And me and my husband, we jumped out of bed and we took our two young children and we ran to the bomb shelter. We are very lucky. We live in a new building that every apartment actually has a bomb shelter or a safe room that the walls are more thick, and it's actually very safe to be whenever there are like missiles and rockets. And I live in Tel Aviv, which allows me 60 seconds, which is a lot of time to run and seek shelter, even if I'm not at home. Now, I say 60 seconds is a lot of time because when I was in the military, and the military in here is mandatory, so I was placed, I served in a city called Sderot, which is 7 kilometers from the Gaza Strip. And at the time, it was 2008, the Iron Dome system was not yet in use. And then we had 15 seconds to run and seek shelter. Okay, so now 60 seconds, it sounds like, I don't know, I feel spoiled that I have so much time. And the rockets, they're not even the point here. Like, it's part of the problem, but it's not the problem. The biggest problem now is that you have terrorists on the ground, okay, trying to break into Jewish communities by the border and just butcher people. I have no nicer way to put it. We have people who are kidnapped, okay? When I say people, I don't mean only troops and soldiers, also young women,
Civilians.
also elders, mothers with their babies, okay? Mothers that were holding their babies were taking hostages into Gaza. We have no idea what's happening with them at the moment.
We completely understand and empathize, and also our hopes and prayers are with you, your family, your loved ones also. There are several reports also about abductions. What you mentioned is absolutely correct. It has been corroborated through several videos that the Hamas terrorists took young women, men, elderly women, and kids into hostage. This kind of hostage situation as of now. What is the buildup? What is the ground situation? What are the sentiments? Is Hamas up to something big, or has IDF been able to counter the attack?
So the IDF at the moment is attacking. The Air Force is attacking in Gaza. They cut off their electricity and water supply. They have drafted a very big amount of reserves. Okay, so they're on it, but on the same time, the last 2 days were difficult to fight. Okay, we had a couple of hundreds of terrorists breaking from different points in Gaza Strip. So
Yes.
they not all came from one point. Okay, it was from different points, and they spread around the different Jewish communities. Those Jewish communities are called it's a kibbutz or a moshav, which means it's like small communities, and it's many of them, okay? So the terrorists didn't went to one place that it's easy to catch. They really spread around, and it took quite a long time to realize where to go, how to catch them, and in the same time, they are going door to door and butchering people.
Absolutely. Right. I was speaking to Deborah Ben Aderet. She was in Kibbutz Zikim in southern part of Israel, and she also narrated the ordeal, in as many words, and it was scary, if I may say so. She also spoke about this sudden burst of attacks early Saturday morning, but it had continued, and they were sleeping in safe rooms also. Reut, was there any sort of anticipation that such kind of big attack could happen from the Gaza side?
So at the time, no, it was a complete surprise. It was also Saturday, it was also a holiday. So Saturday in Judaism, it's the holiday of the week. Many of the people also in the military go for their weekend vacations. And it was also the holiday of Simchat Torah. So they were on, I don't want to say understaffed, but it was usually on Shabbat you have less people, less people on board. And now once we look back, you put all the points together and you see that a lot of time when the people of Gaza, they went close to the fence and we were sure, they are just trying to create provocations. And so now we realize it wasn't about provocations. They were preparing this operation from A to Z.
Right. Definitely looks like a very meticulous planned attack.
It was very well prepared.
Absolutely. And Hamas, that kind of warfare, that kind of, the fighters coming through those motor-propelled parachute sort of thing, coming to that party that was happening at that time.
So they had a music festival. They had about 5,000 participants over there.
Youngsters,
that was, I don't know, it was a gift to the Hamas to break to Israel with such an event going on. They made it like a blood field over there. Now, I assume they knew about the party. I don't know for sure. And even if they didn't, it was kilometers away from the border, and it's a music festival. So you hear the music, you don't need to be genius to, put the points together. So it was obvious that this is, it's a holiday, it's Shabbat, there is a huge music festival of young people. It's the very early hours of the morning. People, they are after a long night partying, maybe they drank a little bit. They are clearly unprepared.
There are, Reut, also unconfirmed reports, although Iran has denied it. The role of Hezbollah. How effective or how active is Hezbollah in that region?
So I always say that the different terrorist organizations around Israel, and we have a bunch of those, they have a FOMO, fear of missing out. So when there is one group that goes and attacks Israel, so sometimes the others, they have a FOMO. They don't want to miss all the fun. And Hezbollah, they are trying to attack now also from the north, okay? I also heard, like you, from the media, the terrorists try to invade Israel from the northern border. At the moment, there isn't too much information released. But let's say it's not something that never happened before, that one group tries to attack us and then the other ones join.
But this kind of intensity, obviously, the Israeli government has called it the 9/11 of
This is the
Israel.
9/11 of Israel. This is the worst and most difficult time of Israel since the day this country was established. Okay, I believe that in the long run, the history of Israel is going to be divided until October 7th, and from October 7th, it's going to leave a huge wound, a huge scar in our history, in our society. Nothing is going to be the same after this war.
Indeed, indeed. And just like your country, unfortunately, India too has bore the brunt of terrorism. 26/11 in 2008, when terrorists from Pakistan attacked Mumbai. And such kind of barbaric activity must be criticized by all means. Reut, I see you are in Tel Aviv, and most probably at a vantage point, I can see the skyline also. And thankfully, the skyline is pretty clear there. What is the situation? Absolutely. What is the situation right now at the frontiers, if I may ask? Are there still civilians stuck there, or all of them have been evacuated?
It's an ongoing event.
Process.
So this day we began to realize the disaster, that more and more testimonies and news came, and we realized families were just erased. Okay, you can see on social media, you have all the terrible photos of young married couples with 2 to 3 kids, all of them gone. Okay, and at the moment they have evacuated most of the people. It took them about 2 days to take control over the event. And at the moment, most of the people, most of the family over there as well, most of the civilians over there are being evacuated to other safe towns around Israel.
Absolutely. Reut, one final question before I let you go. As we speak, there are 2 things happening. First, the total blockade, I presume, has come into picture, where the blocking of electricity, food supply, and fuel has started. On the other hand, also on my mobile phone, one of the prominent news agencies has just flashed the information that the United Nations has said that it is distressed by Israel's complete siege order on Gaza. It means that United Nations is unhappy. So you being, the first-hand spectator of what has happened, the brutality there, how justified?
Let me just, this is the first time I hear it from you, and let me just say that I prioritize the life and the safety and the well-being of the innocent civilians, of the children and the elders and the innocent people, and their safety. That's more important for me than if the United Nations are concerned or unconcerned. I don't mind. If they want to be concerned, they can sit down and drink a glass of cool water, whatever that, I don't know, helps them manage their concerns. But this is not the time that we are going to seek for approval from the international community. This is one. And I don't think most of the countries, actually, I follow the international press. The way I see it, everybody are behind us. The United States, European countries, like everyone are behind us. Okay,
India too.
And if someone choose to side with those terrorists to go and murder innocent people and children and kidnap mothers, why they hold their babies, so those people have issues. And I want to tell you another thing. For
yes, please.
One of the things that the Israeli military, the IDF, takes pride of, and for a very good reason, is that it's the most moral military in the world. Okay, there isn't a military in the world with higher morality standards than the IDF. Okay, the IDF, they're doing on the everyday level. They do everything they can not to hurt civilians, not to hurt innocent people. But
Mm-hmm.
morality, in the end of the day, you do have to prioritize the life of your children and your mothers and your wives
Mm-hmm.
over the children and the wives and so of your enemy. Okay, and
Right.
by the way, uses its own people as human shields.
Right, right, absolutely.
Mhm.
Reut, you're right. The role of IDF is both as of now, the humanitarian face of it, and the military might also has to be told to those
Mm.
terrorists. You yourself have been part of military, and
Yes.
tell us something about you being growing up in Israel and then further going to join the military. Tell us about your parents, if you could share with us, and your education, how you grew up there.
Okay, so I grew up in a small town in the north, in the Galilee. I had a regular childhood, and once we
Hmm.
finish the high school, we go to the military. So, like I assume you go to university, we go to the military. Okay, it's something that
Compulsory.
not everybody, but almost everybody is doing, so you don't feel different or anything. And while you are in high school, so you have to take different exams, like how
Hmm.
about your in how much, if you are in shape, your IQ, like different things. And then they send you a list of all the jobs you are able to do, and you rank them from what
Okay.
you want to do the most to what you want to do the least. And
Okay.
usually they try to give you what you want.
Uh-huh.
I served as an officer in a city called Sderot. Actually, I had quite of a unique job. It's a bit tricky to explain, but basically I was working
Hmm.
with civilians who are
Hmm.
under fire. Okay, so this was 2008, almost 20
Okay.
years ago. I feel so old now once we speak about it. So also back in the day, they had lots of rockets that were fired to Sderot and to other Jewish communities by the border. And the job of my unit was to support these civilians who are under fire. And this is a very important point that Hamas usually they attack civilians. Okay.
Right. Right.
So sometimes they need some extra support, like to send soldiers to the school, soldiers to give mental support, or soldiers to serve as teachers or
Hmm.
youth instructions and so on. So that was my job.
Hmm.
And now when I think
Remarkable.
about it, it was crazy because we didn't have Iron Dome at the time, and we had
Hmm.
rockets falling all the time with 15
Right.
seconds to run and seek shelter, which is insane. Once you are so young, sometimes you don't realize in what danger you are.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yes.
yes,
Yes. Yes.
I could have
Absolutely.
run super quickly at the
Hmm.
time. Yeah, and I want to say
Right.
another thing. You know that until
Hmm.
2005, you had Jewish settlements inside the Gaza Strip. Okay, you had Jewish
Right.
communities, Jewish
Through that
settlements
strip.
over there. And in
Hmm.
2005, the former Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, it took a very controversial decision, which almost caused a civil war in here, to
Hmm.
evacuate all the Jewish communities from the Gaza Strip. Okay,
Hmm.
and those were people who live there for religious reason or political reason or safety reason. They really saw themselves as the human shield, as
Right.
the human shield of
Human shield.
of Israel.
Hmm.
And the government had to send the military to evacuate those people, to grab them by their hands and by their feet. Okay,
Right.
it was terrible to watch. And the idea
Hmm.
was to give Gaza to the Palestinians, let them manage it, let them be independent over
Right.
there.
Hmm.
Gaza, by the
And
way,
then.
has a very good location. Okay, it's right
Hmm.
between Egypt and Israel. There are so many tourists to make this route around the Mediterranean. They could have built
Absolutely.
hotels. They could have created the Riviera of Gaza. They could have
Hmm.
established amazing industries over there. But
But
literally the next day,
mm,
after Israel told all the Jews outside of Gaza, Hamas
mhm,
took over, and ever since they use every cent they receive to
to against Israel.
To get rockets and other explosive and to kill Jews instead of supporting their own people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Another
Absolutely.
thing, Israel in the last couple of years, they gave different gestures of goodwill to Gaza. Okay, so the people of Gaza, many of them had working permits in Israel, so they could have crossed the border, like they had like this special visa and come and work and bring income and to support their families. They let supplies. They let trucks with different supplies, food, medication, cement, whatever, into Gaza. Okay. Another thing, Gaza also has a border with Egypt. That for some reason, maybe you want to interview someone from Egypt after you're done with me, that they keep closed. And this is a very big question, because in Gaza you have Sunnite Muslims and in Egypt you have Sunnite Muslims. So basically all the conditions, there is no reason for them not to get along. So I assumed that also the Egyptians understand that you have so many hungry for blood terrorists over there, and this is why they keep the border shut. And this is a very important point, because sometimes people say Israel created a provocation or whatever. There was no provocation and no nothing before this attack. Okay, the only reason, the only motivation was to butcher the Jews and to demolish Israel.
That's why I guess the defense minister also said today that the beastly people, that's the term that has been used before this blockade was put in. Reut, one final question, and then you may please head downstairs to be with your family and loved ones. When the dust settles, when the time has passed, do you believe there is a chance of reut, a chance of friendship between Israel and Gaza?
If you asked me this question 20 years ago, when I was young and younger and maybe a bit more naive, I would say definitely, I would say at the time, yes. I would say, no, it's only the politicians, the people who want peace. But yesterday I saw like the most terrible video that I wish I didn't see it, because I would never be able to erase it from my memory. I saw a video of a dead Jewish woman, young woman, maybe she's in her early 20s, and she's naked, dead, on a jeep, okay? And there are barbaric Gazan men all around her. It looks like her legs are broken, okay? And they spit on her. People in the street, they just drove with this poor, with this poor dead lady with her body naked in the streets of Gaza. And the people over there are chanting, and they spit over her dead body, and they yell Allah Akbar. And I don't think so. I don't think once you have, it's not only the politicians, it's not only the leadership, and we will be lying to ourselves if we would make them this, if we would give them this discount of, no, it's only your politicians, because that's just not the truth. Okay, and the last thing I want to say is that, after the shock, and it was a very big shock, we saw something amazing. We saw the entire population of Israel coming together, okay, uniting together in order to fight Hamas. And until in the last year, the Israeli society was very divided over the judicial reform. People we were very, very divided. We had demonstrations all over the country, like at least twice a week. Everybody was talking about it, and families were like separated over this.
And now we
division.
See people queuing
and now,
up.
Not only everybody came together when they stand. When they call you, to draft you to the reserves. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
people were on vacations overseas, because again, it's the holiday season now in Israel. People
Yes, yes.
looked to get like the first flight back, okay, to
Mm-hmm.
fight shoulder to shoulder with their mates. In other countries, whenever there
Right.
is a war, usually you see, line of people trying to get out of there. And here
Out
it
of
was
it.
the complete opposite, okay? And not only the people who were drafted to the military, also civilians,
Civilians.
they were
Mm-hmm.
standing in line to donate blood.
Blood.
People were like baking cakes to the soldiers in the front line. Everybody are doing whatever they can. So everybody are united
Right.
and strong.
Something.
And we
Something
are
that
paying
comes.
a very high price now, but
Mm-hmm.
on the same note, we are a very old nation. We are
Mm-hmm.
4,000 years old. We faced
Right.
terrible battles from biblical times to the Holocaust to the War of Independence and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So we are paying a very high price now, and we
Right.
pay it in blood. But
Mm-hmm.
it's very clear for me that we are going to win this.
Right. Absolutely. And the price this time around that Hamas has to pay is being decided as we speak by the IDF and the capable leadership under Benjamin Netanyahu. Reut Aisenburg, thank you so much for speaking to us from
Thank you for having
Tel
me.
Aviv. And we wish all the very best. Our prayers are with you and your family and your loved ones
Thank you
and
so
with your
much.
nation
תודה רבה.
in this fight against terrorism. Thank you so much. Take care.
תודה רבה. Thank you.